Hello and welcome to Tech for Non-Techies, the only podcast that demystifies the fast-growing technology sector. I'm your host, Sophia Matveeva, Chicago-based MBA and tech entrepreneur. My aim here is to give you the skills, knowledge and confidence to find opportunities in the tech sector, whether that's through founding a company, getting a dream job, or bringing a fresh perspective to your work.
Hello, smart people. How are you today? I am on a high today. This week I came back to teaching on campus at London Business School and oh my God, it was amazing. There were about 200 MBA students in the auditorium and I felt like a rock star. Honestly, when you are speaking to 200 people and they are actually listening to you, it feels really good. I was like the Beyonce of business school and my ego was very stroked, so I am happy. Many of my students want to transition into careers in product management. In fact, a PM career is popular with MBAs and it's getting more so. The cool kids don't want to work in consulting or banking anymore. Sorry, Goldman. Sorry, not sorry. This is why in this week's MBA class, we covered the basics of product management and we discussed some typical PM interview questions. And today I want to share some of what we discussed with you. And in case you're thinking, well, I'm not an MBA student and I don't want to get a job in product management, listen up. This is still useful knowledge for you. If you're interested in the tech sector, which I'm assuming you are because you're listening to this podcast, then understanding how product managers think is actually very useful. Product managers tend to rise up to the higher echelons of power in big tech firms. So, for example, Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft and an alumnus of Chicago Booth like me, was a product manager before his ascent to the heavens of the C-suite. In startups, the founder often does the product manager role, or at the very least, the founder is very heavily involved in managing the product. And if you're into the investing side, many venture capitalists have background in product management. And this makes sense. If you're going to invest in tech businesses, having an understanding of how tech products get made is pretty useful, wouldn't you say? In fact, Ben Horowitz, the co-founder of Silicon Valley VC firm Andreessen Horowitz, which now calls itself A16Z, and they're the backers of Facebook and Airbnb and Twitter and lots of other things. So Ben Horowitz, he began his career as a product manager. And in fact, his book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things, is useful if you want to run a business, invest in tech businesses, and also learn how to be a good product manager. So what I'm saying here is thinking like a product manager is important in entrepreneurship, it's important in investing, and it's important if you are working in digital on a large scale. So having a grasp of what it is very useful. And by the way, my dear smart people, in this episode, I'm going to be mentioning a few books and podcasts and resources. And to make it easier for you so you can just focus on the listening and the learning, I have written the list down and you can download it for free in the show notes link. So you can enjoy listening to this podcast and not have to pause each time that I mention a resource. Just go to techfornontechies.co/product management -resources. That's techfornontechies.co/product management -resources. Before we continue, let's have a definition of what a product is in the first place. If you've been listening for a while, you will know that a product is a solution to a problem that somebody is experiencing. I did a full episode on this and I've listed all of the relevant Tech for Non-Techies episode in the product management resources list that you can download. But let's go back to questioning the definition that a product is a solution to a problem that somebody is experiencing. Think about it. Why do you use Netflix? Is it because you really want to use a streaming service? No, it isn't. It's because you're bored and you want to have some entertainment. I don't use an Uber because I think, oh yeah, I really want to use a ride-hailing platform. No, I use Uber to get to parties in high heels and look fabulous. In these examples, you and I think about our needs and our problems, and then we use a product to solve a problem. The books that I like that really help work out what problems you need to solve are What's Your Problem by Thomas Wesselsburg, and also Sprint, How to Solve Big Problems and Test Your Ideas in Just 5 Days. These are two of my favorite books to help you define the problem. And these recommendations are in the resources list that you can download. Now that we've got this definition down, what on earth is a product manager? The product manager, or PM for short, is the person responsible for a tech product like an app or a site existing and improving. Basically, it's like the product parent. The product manager works with a team of different people that come from business and technology, and the product manager gets them to work together towards one common goal. So the people that the PM works with often include marketers, community managers, and industry experts. So for example, if you're making a language learning app, the product manager's role will probably include interacting with language teachers. And also the PM will interact with technical specialists like data scientists and developers. All of these people are going to be in the product team. The product manager's job is to make sure that all of these very different people with different talents and personality types work towards the same goal. And what's interesting is that in this job, the product managers can't actually do any of the jobs of the people that they're leading. Or at least they can't do them as well as the people that they're leading. Often they can't code, or at least not as well as the team's engineers can. Often the product managers aren't designers, they're not marketers, and so literally that means that they can't micromanage the people in the team because they don't know how to do their jobs. And you might be thinking, well, this sounds like a recipe for disaster. But you know what? Actually, it's not the only job that requires this. So think about it. What other jobs can you think of where there is a leader who can't do all of the jobs of the people on the team that they're leading? Well, how about surgeons? So a brain surgeon isn't also the anesthesiologist. A brain surgeon also isn't the nurse. But the brain surgeon on a brain surgery is going to be leading the team. But you know, I love the arts, so my favourite example is actually the conductor of an orchestra. Think about what a conductor has to do. They have to lead a team of people playing anything from the harp to the clarinet. A conductor also usually hasn't actually written the music, because Mozart does not rise from the dead every time La Notte di Figaro is playing at the Royal Opera House. And yet, the conductor is the leader who is responsible for the performance of the orchestra, and they also get to be the famous person who gets the big bucks and draws the crowds. So like the conductor of an orchestra, the product manager has to lead a team of different specialists. And now you ask, how do you do that? Well, I'm going to tell you. You do that by setting a product goal. Essentially, you tell people where you want them to go, and then you let them work out how to get there. So remember, you are telling people where to go, you're not telling them how to get there. If you read articles about what qualities product managers need to have, you'll see the words leadership and empathy. And while from experience I can tell you that yes, this is true, you and I also both know that these are pretty vacuous terms. Leadership and empathy. What on earth does empathy mean in the context of product management? Do product managers need to bring developers donuts when their girlfriends leave them? Well, not necessarily. While I believe that donuts are a universally good thing, so feel free to send me donuts, in the context of product management, empathy means understanding the perspectives of the different specialists on the team. So the product manager needs to understand what developers do, they need to understand what designers do, and they need to understand how community managers contribute. If you know how these people all contribute to making a product, then you can be a better leader. On this podcast, you've heard interviews with designers and developers. You've also heard how investors think and how founders think. Learning how these different perspectives think is a key product management skill. So well done. Just literally by listening to the Tech Non-Techies podcast, you are learning and growing in this important skill. And also, remember, this is the most important. Product managers need to have empathy and understanding for the user. Remember what we said earlier on in this episode? A product is a solution to somebody's problem. So a product, whether it's an app or a site or an algorithm, is a solution to something that a human, a person like you and me is experiencing. This means that a good product manager has to be obsessed with the human user and really understand what their perspective is. A good product manager does not get obsessed with the weeds of building the tech. They let the developers and the technical lead do that. Instead, they are really focused on the user. But there's more. While having tech knowledge and user empathy is great, let's be real. We are living in a capitalist society. Businesses have a profit motive. This means that the product manager also needs to focus on how the product makes money. To sum up, product managers connect business needs, user needs, and technological capability. And so do you see how this skill set would make you a good CEO like Satya Nadella at Microsoft or a good tech investor like Ben Horowitz? This is why understanding the product manager's perspective is so useful if you want to be part of the tech boom in whatever form. And listen, they have all of these diverse skills, but clearly nobody is going to have an MBA, a PhD in psychology, and in computer science. And then clearly no person is going to have deep experience in business, in user needs, and technological prowess. Like, that's just impossible. So a product management role is by definition one of the more generalist jobs in tech. Honestly, like that of an investor or a CEO. But by asking the right questions, the generalist can bring the different perspectives of all of these aspects together. The user-focused questions are, does the problem we're solving really exist? And who is experiencing it? The business question is, how do we make money out of solving this problem? The technology question is, how can we build a solution to this problem? I have lovingly included these questions in the resource sheet for you to download, so you have the notes from this podcast and all the useful resources all in one place. Now, for people who want to get into careers in product management, there are lots of courses, and some of them will be full-time courses lasting over months and costing thousands of dollars. Obviously, as somebody who teaches at business schools, I believe learning is fundamentally a good thing. But I want you to be careful about product management courses that you see from product management schools or that you see online. Yes, they will teach you theory and they will give you a certificate, but remember that they won't actually give you a job. Now, I've hired product teams, and on this podcast, I've interviewed plenty of people who have done so as well. Some of you will know that also before this podcast, I was writing for Forbes for 3 years. So you can see some of my interviews with product managers and investors and founders there, and they are included in the resources sheet. Now, none of the people that I've interviewed, and also none of us want to hire someone who has a certificate in product management, but no hands-on experience. Yes, you do need to learn some stuff, and taking a course is a good way to do it. But do something short and sweet that you can fit into your actual adult life and schedule. And then make sure to get involved in making and shipping a product. So a 4 to 8 week course that you can fit in with your working full-time life is useful. A 6-month product management course that requires you to study 30 hours a week is not. So this is what I also say to my MBA students. You are there, you are doing a full-time MBA, you are learning lots and lots of things. Adding a 6-month product management course at the end of that is not really going to be that helpful. So I always say to my students, learn a bit, do a bit. Learn a bit, do a bit. If you just sit there learning stuff and never actually get involved in anything and never take any action, you're never going to make progress. To get hands-on experience, you could volunteer for a startup in exchange for sitting in on their product team meeting. So you could literally say, startup, hello, what kind of help do you need? Or you could offer them your specialty and then say, in exchange for my help for free, I would like to literally sit in and take notes in your product team meetings. You will learn by osmosis. If you work in a big company, you could also ask your employer if you could get involved with the product team. So for example, maybe you could give them user feedback. You could even make something yourself using Bubble or any of the tools on MakerPad. And that way you are learning product management from literally some no-code tools. The guidance of learn a bit, do a bit applies to any area that we discuss on this podcast. If you want to be a founder, then taking entrepreneurship courses is useful, but then you need to actually start building a venture. Same with investing. If you want to get into investing or if you want to have a career transition, yes, take the course, but then put it to use. And I know that when we're putting a plan to use, we get stuck, we have questions, and we need guidance. So if this sounds like you, and if you need some guidance and coaching as you're navigating the world of tech, then that is what our membership is for. You get monthly coaching sessions with me to help you plot your path and stay on track. You also have access to masterclasses with global tech experts that you hear on the podcast. So all of the interviews that you hear here are excerpts of masterclasses that you can attend as a member, and you can ask those experts your questions and get their feedback on whatever you're working on. And you literally can't get access like this anywhere else. I mean, okay, maybe if you go to the World Economic Forum at Davos and you hang out with the tech experts, you could get something similar, but not much outside that. But you know what the people at Davos don't get and our members do? Is access to our content library and learning notes on key aspects of technology like AI, product management, and the app economy. Our members include alumni of Harvard, Oxford, and the University of Chicago, people who are buying companies, building businesses, and leading innovation. Tech for Non-Techies is honestly a community of very impressive people, and I am very proud to be its leader. You can join us at techfornontechies.co/membership, and the link is also in the show notes. That's it for now, my dear smart people. Have a fabulous day and learn a bit, do a bit. Remember, I'll be back in your lovely ears next week. Ciao.